You see here, hi guys and gals. Well, it's Saturday morning. What time is it? I don't have my watch. Anyway, so Saturday morning. Hope you're all well. It's Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, depending on which side of the Atlantic you are. I guess you give it different names. Over in England, they're talking about Remembrance Weekend. Thought I'd come and make a video. Yeah, I got the poppy on today. And what I wanted to talk about was just a little bit of how people, depending on sometimes your political persuasions, will see and look at courage and cowardice. Or, yeah, let's just look at it that way. As you can see here, there's a bit of wind out here. I'm thinking some of you who used to live in Quebec or have relatives in Quebec might remember there was a series called, it was in French, it was called Le Temps d'une Paix. That means the time of a peace, or a period of peace. I don't know, call it whatever you want. It was based in between both world wars. And soldiers were coming back from mobilization at the First World War, and basically we could say rebuilding. Now, where this was particular is that this was in Quebec. Now, in Quebec, Quebec always had a very particular situation, way of looking at wars that where Britain, especially, and where countries were involved that were, as they would consider, probably had nothing to do with them. Now, I'm treading on eggs here a little bit. The fact that I'm saying this is that in this show, The Temps d'une Paix, there was in one family, there was one brother. I don't know what this is. Somebody with a trailer. Oh, it's the mail. The mail has like some type of little tricycle thing with a trailer behind. Yeah, so what I was saying is that this family I was talking about in the show had two brothers. One went off to the war with many other people, amongst others some English-speaking people, and the other one fled to the woods to hide out. And basically just not go. But everybody in the village knew he was around, more or less, and it was a kind of a protection pact. Now, of course, you can imagine in the show, every now and then there were some frictions when it came out to courage, convictions, cowardice, and so on. In my own family, on the English-speaking side, many are veterans. I wouldn't be able to talk about World War I because I think that in the family, I mean in my direct family, I guess nobody was probably in World War I that I know of. They were kind of like intergenerational or older. Just too young or too old. Yeah, like I say, intergenerational. And in the Second World War, it was a similar situation. And there was another thing also in Canada, at least in Quebec, and people can correct me on that. I think if you had a farm, there were certain restrictions, or we could say provisions made for certain people that were farmers because of the food thing. I'm not saying that everybody on the farm got out of it, but some did, I think. But anyway, correct me on that one. Yeah, so I have one of my uncles, he's in his mid-90s now, who was in Italy in World War II and was wounded. I've had cousins in Vietnam, others in Iraq, both Iraq wars. I don't believe anybody's had... No, I don't think anybody's gone to Afghanistan or stuff like that yet, but you never know. I mean, it could happen because, I mean, there's some of the families are really much military families, Navy mostly, but I think if I'm not wrong, Navy and Army. Now, so you see there's a very strong fiber as to remembering and honoring the veterans on, I was going to say on my family side, which is English speaking. And I really, really respect, and not only respect, I want to honor them because they've, all sacrificed a lot for us. And aside from my uncle, who was wounded, he still has shrapnel in his body. But aside from him, the others managed to get by, like I put it that way, you know what I mean, without probably having any serious wounds. So that is a blessing. Now, what is a little bit more touchy is on the other side of the family. I was going to say on the French side of the family at one period, and I'm talking about back probably to that First World War period. I know that certain of the brothers of, would they be probably uncles uncles of my grandmother. They were just like that other brother that I talked about in the television show. They were in hiding. I mean, we have heard stories of hiding up in so-called secret rooms or what when we call it the press gangs or whatever, when people were looking for draft dodgers. And the way the family would tell these stories, it was very conflicting in a way, because for those involved directly, it was like, oh, well, they were like renegades, like kind of Robin Hoods and something great. And yeah, I've always been conflicted on that one. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a very brave man. I mean, I guess when duty calls, my son, actually, I was forgetting him, poor boy. He's done his military service here. Yeah, so I mean, actually, there is closer to home one who's done military service, and my brother. Goodness sakes, I should get slapped on my fingers for that. Yeah. My brother didn't go to, I mean, in a sense, since they did military service, they didn't go to war. I guess that's why I was forgetting them. But back to the ones that were the deserters, they weren't deserters, draft dodgers. And having said that, yes, sadly, one was a deserter. He didn't desert on grounds. I think he ran away from, boot camp, something like that. I won't get into the details, but yeah. So you can see there's conflicting things, and it's all part of, in a way, not only politics, but one can almost say social identity politics. Which side of sometimes the language barrier you're on. Quebec's a complicated place in that respect. The ones I said that were in Vietnam and everything, they're binationals. They're Canadian and American. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, and of course the army here in Switzerland is a very particular thing. It's a militia army. So, we're not like running off to wars, and you know what I mean. It's different. But anyway, all of this to say is that thank you, all of you veterans. I mean, thank you very much for everything that you have done. All you soldiers. I mean, when I think about my son, what I can't forget to say is that when there was the enormous in Japan, when they had the floods, the tsunamis, and so on, they were getting ready to leave to go and help, and finally it was called off because of the nuclear plant thing. But he was basically packing his bags to leave for humanitarian aid in Japan. So yeah, I mean, like I say, a lot of my family, close and afar, have been involved in actions that we should honor, remember. Veterans Remembrance Day. Yep, I honor those who showed up. Yeah. So that's DC. A little bit of a controversial one, I guess. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.